What's happening, fight fans? Welcome back to the MMA Mindset podcast. This is episode 4 now, back with another Fighter Origins. I've got another regional roundup coming that'll be getting posted on Sunday night. This is out on Saturday. That'll be on FCC 34 on Fight Pass. That's going to be a great card. But no, back to Fighter Origins today, and I have amazing kickboxer, striking wizard turned MMA fighter Charles Joyner with me. Thank you very much for joining me today, mate.
Oh, thanks for having me on, Chris. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I'm really glad that we managed to get this sorted because I was at your fight a few weeks ago at Almighty, and unfortunately I didn't get a chance to catch up with you after. Like I said, I'm glad that we've got to be able to talk about it. So, how's it been since your pro debut? How are you feeling after the fight, and how have the weeks been prior to it?
Yeah, like it's obviously it's always a good feeling after a win. I think like I'm sufficiently experienced enough now that like I don't really like let it get to my head too much. I sort of ground myself pretty quickly. And then just want to get back into training and just keep on improving. And I've got pretty clear goals set of what I want to achieve like this year and in the years coming up. So it's just sort of refocused onto them. But obviously a good feeling as well, you know, getting it done.
Yeah, definitely. Were you straight back into graft pretty much in the next few days?
Yeah. Like I had a few days off, but I just went into the gym and just watched the sessions, and then I sort of just got back into like technical training in the back end of the week, and had a bit of a break from sparring and going live. But sort of the next week, my body felt pretty good, so I just got back into it, and yeah, kept ticking over.
Yeah, how do you think the fight went in general? Because obviously you got that first round finish, but I remember when he got the submission attempt in in the opening about minute. I knew your background, so I wasn't entirely sure what your grappling and your submission defense was going to be like, and it super really impressed me. So how
Mm.
did you feel the fight went as a whole?
Obviously, so I feel like I definitely made some mistakes in my takedown defense, which like allowed that position to happen. And there are some things that straight away Andrew Fisher, my coach, like just highlighted for us to improve on. And I think that was just like an experience thing. Obviously, being my first MMA fight, I was just like I didn't transition, to those techniques as well as I should have. And maybe like they're things that I sort of would do in training, but in the fight it not I wouldn't say I froze as much, but like it just was that just sort of that just something you got to experience, I guess, to be able to do it. But I think it went well. Like I'm happy that I went through that sort of adversity in my first fight, and I didn't just fight like an absolute can. I fought someone that was a really good grappler, and then I pretty much got as close to getting finished as possible, and then sort of snatched it from the jaws of defeat, and then got it back into my world and sort of just clinically finish the job off. So yeah, I think it went pretty well. Like it just like ticked all the boxes of something that you want to, of all the experiences you want from a debut, I'd say.
Yeah, well, the finish was one of the cleanest body kicks I've seen on a regional card. That was beautiful body kick. I just kind of want to talk about before the fight. Obviously, we had that absolute chaos with Giovanni Olakanori, and obviously you got told that right, guys, the fight's getting called now, so get ready to come. And then like 45 minutes, I think it was between you being told that to actually doing your ring walk. How do you think that did that have any sort of effect on you, or did you just kind of refocus and it was basically the same as if it had happened 45 minutes before that?
I think probably like it was a weird situation. Not and in all my fights, I've not experienced something like that. And even like before those, so that was like the heavyweight title fight. But the fights, I think like the five fights before had been like really quick finishes. So the card was flying through. So we were sort of getting like warmed up and ramped up. Maybe the fight before that heavyweight fight, and then thought, okay, heavyweights, most likely this is going to be over pretty quick. And then it just like the actual fight dragged on, and then it was just, yeah, like you said, just absolute madness after the fight. I won't really comment on that, but it was in terms of like personally, I sort of just straight away just thought, well, and Fisher said it as well. My opponent's going through the exact same thing, so whatever. Like it's not like it's going to be any different for him. So, and I thought maybe because I've had a bit more fighting experience, that it probably might play in my advantage a little bit more because I think I would be able to manage my emotions and the nerves a little bit better. Um, I'd say probably like I got a really good sweat on when I thought we were going to be walking out, and then by the time we actually walked out, I was completely dry. So it probably helped the grappling a little bit for him, but I don't think it would have had too much of a difference. I think it would have played out pretty similarly. You know, he got me to where he wanted to get me, and then I did what I had to do, and then got it back to where I needed the fight to be. And it was just like another weird experience to have, but it all sort of will serve you in the future. I think all those like little experiences of all the different eventualities of a fight night.
Yeah, definitely having like Andrew Fisher as well. He's like one of the biggest vets in the sport. Like
Mm.
he's been around for years, and he must be. He seems like a proper composed, cool-headed guy. So that must have massively helped you having someone like Andrew to just be like, it's all right, just chill, and give you some like words of like comfort, I'd say.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely, and Justin Burlinson in my corner as well, who's had about all in all, he's about had about 50 fights if you include all his amateur record as well. So that between them, they've sort of seen most of the things that can happen on a fight night. So it's yeah, it's definitely beneficial having those two in my corner.
Yeah, 100%. You touched on it just earlier about you've got some pretty clear goals for the rest of the year. What's next for the for yourself moving into obviously the second half of 2023?
Yeah, so I want to fight like at least three more times, and then finish off the year. Obviously, ideally 4-0. But yeah, three more times is the goal. I would have liked to have got more fights in, but I was actually scheduled to fight in March to make my debut on Cage Steel. But the week before the fight, my lung collapsed in training, so I ended up having a week in hospital, and obviously I had to have a little bit of time off. But so I did like I would have been liking to sort of get in, 5 or 6 fights this year, and then finish the year in a really strong position going into next year. But if I can get another 3 fights in, I'll be happy with that.
Yeah, where any promotions that you're kind of looking at that you'd like to get on, or are you just kind of see what gets presented to you and then make a decision then?
Yeah, like yeah, not really any sort of particular promotions in mind. I enjoy fighting on Almighty. I think they're coming back in November again, so obviously I'll be keen to fight on there again. We've got our like home show up here, which is Rise and Conquer. That's in October, so I aim to fight on that. Cage Steel as well because they were looking after me when I was supposed to have my debut. So I think like any of those sort of shows. Um, yeah, I'm not really too fussed. It's more just about like I fought all over, so I'd sort of I fought in enemy territory constantly, and I fought at home, and I fought I've had I've had like hundreds of people buy tickets for me, and then I've had like 3 people buy tickets for me. Do you know what I mean? So it's like I'm sort of happy to fight wherever, really.
Yeah, exactly. Do you think you're going to struggle to get fights? Because I think after watching your debut and
Mm.
seeing your plethora of combat experience, not in MMA but in kickboxing, I feel like
Mm.
you might maybe struggle to get some matchups. Have you found that, or do you think you're going to get matched up pretty easily?
So this is where I thought. So I thought that like how that fight went, it could go one or two ways for getting matchups. I thought it might give some people confidence that they could get me down and then, you know, potentially get a submission because it was like I was fairly close to being finished. But then, like you said, it could go the other way as well. To be fair, I didn't really find it hard to get matched for my debut. I think Fisher thought that I'd really struggle to get matched for the debut, but that wasn't too bad. So I don't know, we'll just have to see what happens. It depends. Like obviously, people I'd be looking to fight would be people with a few professional fights, but normally those sort of people are looking to build their records against people that aren't very good and people they think that they can beat. Like if you look at like when I was looking through the rankings of middleweights, with people similar sort of experience to me, there'll be people like 4-0, 5-0, but then they haven't beat anyone with a winning record. So it's like you end up having to fight someone a bit more experienced, which I've not really got any problem with, or you've got to do the same thing and fight like a bit of a journeyman, which I'm not that interested in doing. Like I'd rather fight, people that are properly going in there to win. But in the end, if you gotta do what you gotta do to get fights, I guess. So
Yeah, exactly. And I think, especially in my line of work now, I think fight fans are getting a bit more clued on to records. So yeah, they'll see someone who's 5-0 as a pro, but especially people like I said, people that are as into the sport as I am, they'll delve further into that, and they'll be
mm,
like, yeah, but look at the resume. Like he's
yeah,
fought people who are one win, four losses, and stuff like that. So I feel like your way is probably the best. It's best to go about it because at the
mm,
end of the day, it's all about image and how people see you and how people respect your record. And if you've got wins against people who people know who have no slouches, then that's only gonna do you well. Just
definitely, yeah.
talking about your striking, how much of an issue do you think that's going to be for the majority of the middleweights on the scene? Because it's unbelievably crisp striking.
Oh, I appreciate that. And yeah, I agree with you. I think it is as well. It's I think there's a couple of factors with that. I think one, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be the biggest middleweight in the world. Like I don't think there's too many like 6'8" middleweights. Um, and then I think I use like every inch of my range and reach, and 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 I'm smart with the fight. Like I'm smart with my striking. Like I'm picking my shots, and it's like that Adesanya quote, like we don't throw and hope, we aim and fire. Like it's like no real wasted shots. So I think like I've sparred with like UFC guys, and I feel like I give them problems when I'm with striking. Even like heavyweights, like I'll have like good rounds with. So I think like personally, I believe my striking's like upper levels of like if I was in the UFC now with my like compared to UFC fighters, I feel like when I watch the middleweights, I feel like I could strike with all of them really. So I think it's gonna yeah, I just think it will just give everyone problems really. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah,
I've seen obviously through your Instagram that you've spent some time around some ridiculously talented fighters like Bam
mm,
Bam,
mm,
Tyson Pedro. You've been with Daniel Cormier. You've
mm.
you've had so many guys in your corner. I think that gives you a massive advantage over a lot of the guys, especially in this country. Do you feel like having them around you and being able to kind of lean on them for their experiences is what's propelling you and maybe inspiring you a little bit to achieve your goals?
Yeah, yeah. It's a funny the other one, the Daniel Cormier one's funny because that was just when we were on. I went with Bam Bam to Fight Island, and then Cormier just like dropped into like our training room, but like we didn't do anything with him. We just got a photo. But I thought like before my fight, I was just gonna post that picture of me with Cormier just to like put like a little bit of like just to plant a seed, in my opponent's mind of, oh no, he's been wrestling with Cormier. Like just 'cause obviously they would think that's where the advantage would
Yeah.
be, but yeah, like I've been around like you said, like Ty and Tyson, a few other guys from Australia, and then Tom Aspinall over here, Mick Parkin who's about to make his debut in the UFC, and I think it's just obviously they're all like extremely talented guys, but I feel like seeing the success that they've had and just being around them, it does give you that confidence that, and it makes it real. It just makes it real about like, oh yeah, I can get there too. It's like an achievable thing that can be done. So yeah, it is definitely beneficial. It just makes it just it like bridges that gap between like what like your dreams and making it a reality, like just those connections.
Yeah, well, that was literally just the words I was about to use. Like I said, you can kind of use them as a bridge between dreams and reality, and
Mm.
it's fantastic to do that. You've touched on it, and it's something that I really wanted to ask you after your fight. Being 6'8" and a middleweight, what are your weight cuts like? Because it's not. I don't think you carry an awful lot of extra weight, but being 6'8", that weight's got to be somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so like it's not like too bad. I'd say I probably the last one I did for that fight, I didn't do it completely properly on I feel like I did like I'm really disciplined with the dieting and the all the lead up, and I'll get my weight in a really good spot. But I probably left a little bit too much weight to actually do on the day of the weigh-in, and then just a few little things like probably didn't have the bath hot enough and stuff like that. So it just like drew out the process a little bit, but it's not too bad. Like right now, I'm sort of eating pretty well, and I'm waking up about 94 and a half kilos, 95 kilos. So it's sort of I'm probably in that range where realistically it'd be perfect if I had like an 88 kilogram division, because I feel like the light heavyweights are cutting from 100 kilos plus. So and I think the grappling makes that weight like a little bit more important than say in kickboxing. But yeah, they're not too bad. Like it's just discipline really. Like it's just how you approach it, I think.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds mad to hear you saying that you're like 94 kilos because I'm like eight. I think I'm 88.9 kilos right now, and I'm
Yeah,
5'9" and a bit. So that's insane. Like I said, that must be a lot of discipline and just being able to kind of keep yourself at that way. And just before we go into the fighter origins, I just kind of want to ask you about where you do the majority of your training now, because I know, like you said, you've been about and you've been with, like I said, the guys at Tom Aspinall in Liverpool and then up Sunderland. And is it up at the fish tank that you do most of your training now?
yeah. I'm in Sunderland full time now. I just think like as soon as I came to TFT and experienced Fisher's coaching, I just knew that it just like aligned with me perfectly how he goes about things. He's just like really meticulous with technique and just constantly research and stuff. And he's got like a wealth of knowledge anyway, but he's constantly building it. And every week, I just feel like the gym as a whole learns so much and is constantly leveling up. And then we're all just constantly leveling up together. So yeah, at TFT, and then I go to Northeast Jiu Jitsu sometimes to get some extra rolls in there as well with
Is that with Cal
Ellis.
Allen?
No, yeah, Cal is there. Cal is there, but he's opened his own gym as well, which is like a subsidiary of Northeast Jiu Jitsu. I think his is called Exile Jiu Jitsu. But Northeast Jiu Jitsu is Ellis Younger who
Yeah,
runs that. Yeah, yeah. So he's world class him. So it's so much talent up here in the Northeast, really.
yeah, definitely. Like in South Shields, there's Ace MMA as well with
Yeah.
like Shadge and all the boys there. They're
Mm.
great. So yeah, it's a sport that's just taken over the UK now. You can't go anywhere in the UK without having a plethora of unbelievable people to train with, whether it's in the south, the Midlands, the north. So yeah, I think you've settled into a good home there, and training with these guys and under the tutelage of Fisher will be nothing but good for you. So
Yeah.
we'll go on to the fighter origins. It's kind of just where I get to know where you kind of came from, where the want to fight came from. So the one thing that I always ask is, do you remember the first bit of combat sports that you ever watched or you ever saw, or the first time you saw it and was like, yeah, I'm gonna do that?
I mean, like the first bit that I ever watched, I don't know, probably just like random boxing fights on TV. But I remember just like being a kid and just looking at it and just thinking, God, imagine like there's no chance I'd want to do that. Just like fighting in front of like a crowd of people. Like that would just be like just like it was like more imagining that feeling of like doing it. Like I just thought that would be horrible. But then so it's funny how it turns out. But the thing that sort of really got me into it was actually just when McGregor fought Aldo, funnily enough. And I just remember seeing like I hadn't been into it at all. None of my friends were into MMA or anything like that back home in Australia. And but I just kept on like the obviously the build up to it was just like circulating everywhere on social media. So I got sucked into the build up, and then I just went to a random bar to watch the fight. And there are a lot of in Australia, like this at this beach where I watched the fight, there was like a lot of Brazilians living there. So obviously a lot of they were all supporting Aldo, and I just think everyone else in there was supporting McGregor. And obviously when he did it, knocked him out in 13 seconds, the whole place just went absolutely mental. And I remember just looking around, just like shocked at what had happened, but then just like looking at how everyone was reacting. And it was like everyone was just like in awe of it. Like it was like everyone just knew they'd like witnessed greatness. And I just thought then, and it was never, I never thought, oh, I want to fight, like I want to do that. It was just like, oh, I want to learn that skill. And that was such a cool thing to be able to do. And with all that pressure on his shoulders for him just to be able to, come up clutch like that and just do the most ridiculous thing, I just thought was so cool. And that just sort of like sparked my interest in it really. And then I just started training, and then I just started kickboxing, and it just sort of snowballed from there.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's really weird because I used to work in like bars late at night in town, and
Mm,
I was a massive MMA fan, and I was remember finishing work on the Saturday, and I finished work at about 4:30 in the morning, and I grabbed a couple of my mates and I was like, "Run, like let's go," because I need to get home. And I
mm.
didn't have any money at the time, so I couldn't really afford to like stream it, watch it.
Yeah, yeah.
So I had some like Khabib would say, I have Russian link. So I had a Russian link, and as soon as Connor came out with that karate style and like Bob, it froze, and I was like, oh no, what's happening? And then it literally came back on like 8 seconds later, and Aldo was on the floor. I was like,
What happened?
I just missed the full fight. I was like, I couldn't believe it. But no, I think that's something that a lot of people got in the sport, and it's something that I know Conor McGregor's had his issues, and obviously more issues have come out today.
Yeah.
But it's something that you can never quite take away from him is the fact that he's inspired this whole new generation
Mm,
of talented fighters to get into the sport. And whilst obviously people have their opinions, I have my opinions. It's something that I'll I'll never quite think people appreciate him enough for, because I was
mm,
watching the sport years and years and years before Connor, but I never had anyone speak to it about. And now there's MMA
mm.
events all over the UK that I can travel to and go to. So it's just the impact he's had on the sport. Obviously, yourself
Mm,
is unparalleled.
Oh, it's and that's why it's almost like it's quite sad to see, you know, all the. I mean, he's just living his life, isn't he? But it's just, I feel like if he just like rode off into the sunset after the even the Eddie Alvarez one, or even the Mayweather thing, like it just would have been like perfect. But I guess he's just got that. It's just built into him, isn't it, to be in the limelight in any sort of way that he possibly can, which is I think what the problem is really. But yeah, no, definitely like it's changed the. I don't know. To me, it feels like it's like the biggest sport in the world now, but I don't know. It probably isn't if you compared it to something like football. But I feel like its trajectory is it's just it just keeps on growing. It just seems to keep on getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, definitely. I speak to new people every single day who I've known for years who have never really got into a sport, and because they know what I do and what I and like where I'm from, they'll come over to me and they'll be like, "Oh, did you see so and so?" And I'm like, "I didn't even know you like the sport." I was like, "But
Yeah.
it's all it's all good for the sport." When did you turn your attention to actually wanting to start training and get involved in the sport in like a combat sense?
So that was like literally when that fight finished. I think I went home, found a gym, and then I think I think it was like I found a gym now. I said, okay, in the new year. So I think it was like, was it December? It was December 2015 or something when the fight
Yeah.
happened. And I feel like the gym that I found was closed until the new year. So I just thought, oh well, when the new year starts, I'm just gonna start training. And then I just like and I think again like the gym that I went to is called Evolution Gym in Sydney, and the coach there is called Adrian, and he was my coach the whole time I was in Australia. But he very similar to Fisher the way he approached it. So I think I was lucky when I went there, and it just resonated with me straight away, and just helped me fall in love with the sport. And yeah, it was just so pretty quick, really. Like a few weeks after the fight, I was just training and just obsessed with it straight away.
How long were you training for before you had your first fight?
About 10 months, I'd say.
That's good. That's a lot longer than some people leave it. Did you kind of wait
Mhm.
for your coaches to say, right, look, I feel like you're ready to compete now, or did you make that decision that you felt you were ready to compete?
It was probably still. I think it was like a bit of both. I think there was probably still like that. I had like a lot of fear about fighting still, like because it was just so like none of my friends did it, none of my family did it, no one around me really did it, and I'd obviously had these like preconceptions about it that it was like a scary thing to do almost. So it was probably a bit of like the mental thing of, oh God, am I really going to do this? And then yeah, and then I think I was just doing like really well in training, and then obviously being the size I am, and my coach was good at like teaching me how to fight long, so I felt like I could stay relatively safe in the fight, which gave me confidence to jump in there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. I can imagine you walking into a gym and then your future coach seeing you 6'8", and I bet he was just like, "Yes,
yeah, yeah.
we've got one." But no,
That's
that's great. What
it.
Going back to your family, what did they think of it when you said you wanted to kind of pursue this as a career path?
Yeah. They definitely was because I was studying law at the time, so they obviously I think they were quite happy with their son studying law and planning to be a lawyer. And then when I sort of threw a spanner in the works and said, "Oh, I'm thinking I'm gonna be a professional fighter," they uh, they weren't too happy just because it was like it was the same thing that McGregor, like when McGregor said like there was no one that you could really show around him and show his like family and say like, oh, this person is like set apart. Like it was just like that. There was no one around us that had done it. So I couldn't really be like, oh well, this person did it. So yeah, I think they just thought, what are you thinking? Like they weren't particularly supportive at the start, but then yeah, as it progressed on, like and now they couldn't be more supportive now. Do you know what I mean? Like it's I think it was obviously for them it was just like a challenging thing that they had to adapt to for themselves as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like on the flip side of that, like I've trained and competed earlier on, but it was never something that I really pursued and went into. I kind of went more into the media side. But even like my family, like especially like my mom and me nana and that, they don't really know about the sport. So they're like, "Oh, would you really think you're gonna make a career out of this?" And but
Mhm.
I've been lucky because I've had my brother, my older brother, and he's been like, "No, no, the sport's massive." So yeah, I think it's kind of that older generation who grew up with like boxing, just like normal boxing and stuff like that. They don't
Yeah.
really understand this new breed of sport. When did you decide to make the transition from kickboxing to MMA?
So it was always obviously because it was MMA that had originally got me into it. It was always in the back of my mind, and then it was really when I went to Fight Island with Ty Tuivasa because I'd helped him prepare for Stefan Struve, funnily enough, and so then I cornered him at Fight Island, and that was a cool experience because it was the Khabib Gaethje card. So, and it was just like obviously being on Fight Island, being in the UFC, like being around all the UFC and being at the event. I just thought, nah, this is it. This is the thing you've got to. This is what you've. This is the pinnacle. Like there's no. And if you want to be the best fighter in the world, this is the pinnacle. This is where you prove it. So it was around that time, and I didn't really get into training MMA until I came to the UK, really.
Yeah. When did you? How long have you been in the UK for? Because I went quite far, and it looks like you've been here and then been back to Australia and been here. But when did you first come over?
So I was actually born here. Like I was born in my whole family's English. I was born in Dorset. So um so yeah, the transition to come over here was pretty easy. And I came over here in September 2021. And the reason I came was because the lockdowns in Australia just went absolutely mental.
Yeah.
Like and we just thought like we were sort of hearing things that people were saying that, you know, it's going to be like this for years now. And I just thought, and England was just the UK was just sort of opening back up, and I saw that people were having fights and stuff like that. So I thought, okay, well, I'm just going to come over here and just see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I remember the lockdowns in Australia were madness. I think they were doing that zero COVID strategy, and
Yeah.
it was just ridiculous. And
Mm.
I think it got about 6 months into it over here, and I think people were sick of it, so they kind of had to open it all up. But no, like I said, it's probably been good for your career that you did. I just kind of want to move on to some influences that you have, either outside of the fighting world or inside the fighting world. Like who are maybe some of the fighters that you really look up to and you aspire to be like?
Mm. Um, yeah, obviously, people I always watch people like Adesanya, probably pretty self-explanatory that one. But I think obviously just like his body type and his background, like kickboxing background, and the way he transitioned into MMA, and obviously the success that he's had with it. Like I said, like Conor McGregor, I think that run that he had, where sort of all the way up until the Eddie Alvarez fight, it's just like the skills. He's southpaw as well, but more so probably the mindset that he had and like his approach to it. There's obvious ones as well, like Muhammad Ali. Like it's just like I feel like a lot of them are a mindset more than because I feel like my body type's just so like unique that it's uh, there are probably there aren't that many people you can look to where you go like, oh, that's like a really similar fighter to me. So a lot of it's just like mindset ones that I look at more, and I feel like the mindset is just so important because say like even with that debut that I had when there was probably about 4 times in that when he had my back that I thought about tapping. It was just like, oh god, I could tap here. I was like, like because you're battling with your mind,
Mm.
and then I just made the decision of no, I'm not going to tap. I'm going to go to sleep if anything. So I might as well keep fighting it. And it was like you could have all the skills in the world, and but if your mindset's not correct in that moment, if my mind just crumbled, I would have just tapped, and it would have been a completely different story about after that fight. Like, and that was just all mindset, really. So yeah, those sort of like the ones with the mindset sort of giants are probably the people that I look to the most.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's one of those things where you can have all the talent in the world, but as soon as if you don't have a mindset, or as soon as that mindset goes, you can crumble so quickly. It's like you
Mm.
see the switches of what happened to people like Hen and Barrow and all sorts of stuff like that. So
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's definitely the most important thing is having that mindset to just to keep going and like you said, not give up
mm.
and keep battling because you can easily like tap in those situations. But I think that's those are the sort of situations where you learn about a lot about yourself. And do you feel like you learned loads about yourself during that time when he did have you back over that the course of that fight?
Yeah, definitely. I think you know since I've been in the UK, I think it's been like so about a year and a half now. It's been like loads of moments of just learning about myself. Like, um, I think so. I think it was stuff that I probably already knew about myself, but I just sort of like reaffirmed it and was like, yeah, this is especially in an MMA setting, I was like, oh yeah, this transfers over from kickboxing to MMA pretty well. So yeah, I've had some like some. They're not like in the grand scheme of things, they're not like super tough things, but like some tough things in the fighting world that I've had to overcome since I've been here. So yeah,
Yeah, I kind of want to move on from this onto just the some of the stupid stuff that I've got ready to go, but I just kind of want to get you in trouble a little bit with a few people before we move on. I just want you to tell me
yeah.
who your favorite fighter is.
Oh, favorite fighter. Um, favorite fighter. That's actually a hard one. Um, we'll say Andrew Fisher because he's fighting tomorrow.
Yeah, he's on Octagon tomorrow, isn't he?
Yeah,
So yeah, I'll be looking forward. But obviously, having that close relationship with him as well.
yeah.
And obviously, if you'd have said anything else, you'd have been getting some issues next week, I imagine.
I know. I think I wouldn't. But to be fair, like we just like that. The whole TFT just gives each other shit all the time. Like it's a good environment because like you got Phil DeFreeze walking in and he's just like getting roasted straight away. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like no one's safe. So I'll say a nice thing about Fisher for once. I'll say he's my favorite fighter, but
Yeah.
only 'cause he's fighting tomorrow.
Yeah, I respect that. Yeah, so we'll move on to. I've just got some would you rather's. There's two
Mm.
that are quite interesting, and there's one that's just absolutely ridiculous.
Okay,
Um, I
as
think
long
I
as
know
I don't
what.
get in trouble with my girlfriend, then we're fine.
Oh no, mate, don't worry. I wouldn't put you through that because
Uh,
I'd be in the same boat. This one, I think I know where you're going to go with this, but so would you rather be in the UFC but you never win the title? You'll have like a Donald Cerrone, Uriah Faber, Jim Miller type career where you're always there or thereabouts, but you never quite hit the pinnacle of the sport. Or would you
mm.
rather go to the Bellator, PFL, but you're champ, double champ, one of the best to ever grace the promotion?
So I feel probably like at different points of your career, you'd say something different. Like I feel like maybe in 10 years, I'd say something different because I imagine, you know, if you're that sort of status in the PFL, you've probably made some serious money. But yeah, I think the UFC one because I still just like right now that's the goal obviously, and it's that's the uh that's the top tier promotion. That's where all the majority of the killers are. So that's where you want to test yourself. So I'll go with the UFC one. But ask me in 10 years, and it might be something different. But we'll have seen what's happened in 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. You can. It's one of them where you think of these people that have never quite won the title, like Cerrone and Faber, Jim Miller, all of these guys, and they've still had fantastic careers, and people will
Yeah.
still remember them for years and years to come, and they've still made bank.
Mm.
So yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
no, I
yeah,
think I agree with you on that one, legacy wise.
yeah. I think legacy. I think you can do more with probably legacy afterwards as well. Like you look at Cerrone now, he's going to be in movies and stuff like that. So I don't know. I think it's depends what you want, but obviously my aim's like to do what you said for the PFL, but do that in the UFC. So it's like, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. Another quite an interesting one. Would you rather not be able to throw your kicks, but your hands are 10 times more powerful, or not be able to throw your hands and your kicks are 10 times more powerful?
Um, I'll probably say not throw my kicks and my hands be 10 times more powerful. Because I think if I couldn't throw my hands and my kicks were 10 times more powerful, I think I'd be like murdering people. I think it'd just be like, I'd have like a body. I just don't think that'd just be carnage. I think so. For the sake of my opponents, I'll go the kicks and 10 times stronger hands.
Yeah, I think that's sensible after what I've seen from yourself. So yeah, and then my last would you rather is just a bit ridiculous one. Would you rather fight one Brock Lesnar sized chicken or 20 chicken sized Brock Lesnar's?
21 is the chicken. Are the chickens on the juice as well?
Oh mate, they are Brock versus Overeem, juice to the gills, absolute warrior chickens.
Okay, so one.
I love how you're working your plan of attack out in your head as well. You're like, I can do this.
Oh, you gotta take it seriously then. I think like I think the Brock Lesnar sized chicken would be pretty lethal because I imagine like the pecking and the claws like that I feel like you wouldn't be able to do much against that, especially with it being able to like sort of fly because chickens can't really fly properly, can they? They can like
Yeah.
they still get a bit of height, but then what's the what's the chicken the 20 chicken sized Brock Lesnar's, they wouldn't, I don't think they'd be able to do that much, really, because they wouldn't come up past my kneecaps. And I think I don't know. Yeah, I think I'll go with that one. I think the 20 chicken sized Brock Lesnar's.
Yeah, I bet you never. I bet you didn't think you woke up this morning and think to yourself, "Yeah, I'm gonna have a conversation about Brock Lesnar the size of a chicken today." So,
I did.
no, I think I would go the same. I'm not too keen on fighting. I think just the thought of a giant chicken would do me in. So,
I
yeah,
creepy that
yeah,
a 6'5" chicken.
yeah.
I'd still have a bit of height and range on it, but I think it, nah, I think that's dangerous. That.
Yeah, definitely. And then, so going on to my last section, just a really quick one. It's this or that, just one or the other, basically.
Yeah,
So I've got MMA or kickboxing.
MMA.
MMA. Oh, I thought you were going to go kickboxing, but obviously you
No,
explaining more about you, and you explained that that's kind of how you got into combat sports was
yeah.
MMA. I think my mind changed a little bit. John Jones or Anderson Silva?
Um, Probably I don't know. That is a hard one, actually. See, I'd say probably John Jones because I feel like just for like the all around skills, like it's just to be able to dominate in this like era of MMA as well. I think John Jones, but probably as a person, Anderson Silva, but yeah, as a fighter, John Jones.
Yeah, I can respect that. I don't know how much of like a movie fan you are, but I've
Hmm.
got one that I filmed a podcast yesterday for my mate's podcast about films and
Oh, yeah.
DC, Detective Comics or Marvel.
Well, that's it because I'm gonna go and see that new Flash movie on Sunday, and that looks
Yeah.
pretty good. But I feel like I don't know. I feel it probably Marvel because I just saw the new Spider-Man movie, and that was good. So I'll say Marvel right now, but next week it might be something different. But right now, Marvel.
Yeah, fair enough. And then last of all, I think I know obviously where your origins are, where you're going to take this, but summer or winter.
So it's funny when winter's here, I'm like, oh, I do like winter, but then when summer comes, I'm like, no, nothing beats summer. And I think like to be fair, see in Australia, I'd say I prefer winter because in summer in Australia it sometimes gets like 45 degrees. We've had up to like 48 degrees, and that's just like horrible. It's too much. Um, and then winter would be like this sometimes, what it's been like this week. So I'd say, but if I was in Australia, that would be my answer. I'd say winter. But in the UK, definitely summer. Like that's not even a question.
Yeah, I'm not good with the sun. I'm not good with heat. I finished work today and went and sat outside for 25 minutes. Went to the gym after, and I was like, I had to ring my missus and be like, "Can you come pick me up?" I was like, "I don't feel
Really?
very well," so I would not do well in those temperatures. But
Oh no, no. Don't go to
no,
Australia in summer.
yeah. But yeah, I think that's all we've got time today for. So Charles, cheers, thank you very much for. I've had a great time, and it's been great getting to know you. If you just kind of want to let people know where they can find you on social media, I know you've got your YouTube channel. Just where can we see a bit more of yourself?
Yeah. So Instagram's just underscore Charles Joyner. And then yeah, YouTube. I was more active on the YouTube like a couple of years ago, just like putting up vlogs and the fights and stuff like that. But trying to make sure I'm doing that a bit more now because I think it's important. But yeah, I think it's just Charles Joyner on YouTube, and I've got like TikTok and stuff like that, which I think it's just like Charles Joyner. Um, but yeah, just Charles Joyner everywhere, really. That's it.
Yeah, spot on. I'll make sure that obviously we pump your socials out. But no, thank you very much for joining me today, mate. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I look forward to catching up with you in 4 weeks' time. And like I said, hopefully your partner gets the victory at BMF as well. So no, once again, mate, just thank you very much for having this chat with me.
No, I appreciate it, Chris. Thanks for having me on. I
Magic.
enjoyed it. It was good.
Yeah, thank you. Cheers, Charles. Catch you later, buddy.
Cheers.